Huh? Guys? Groot. Guys, he's my new accomplice here. Anyway, let's get things going. This is Tech Nick. You're back with me once again, guys. This is an unboxing of the Vivo IQOO Neo. Now it just says IQOO all over the box. It doesn't even say Neo except for the back tag over there. But nevertheless, the Neo kind of stands for budget, and this really is big budget here. This is 1,000 yuan less than the original IQOO that released earlier on this year with the Snapdragon 855 chipset, but this one indeed comes with last year's flagship chipset, the Snapdragon 845 chipset. Now the reason why they've paired it with a Snapdragon 45 chipset instead of an 855 is because the price of this is just 1,800 RMB. That works out to about 18,000 rupees or so, and $260 US, which is literally cheaper than the Pocophone when it dropped. Guys, this phone is ridiculous value for money, and the reason why I picked this up and not the Xiaomi CC9, geez, that's a mouthful. I think IQOO Neo is way easier to say. That phone is paired with a Snapdragon 710 chipset, not even the new 730, a 710 chip, guys, meaning that it's using last year's mid-range chip. This is using last year's flagship chip for the same price, but the drawback here is indeed the camera. The cameras on here are almost essentially exactly the same as the original IQOO, but they are not quite as good as the Mi CC9, since this does not embed the IMX586 sensor that everyone has come to know and love. Nevertheless, this is probably the best budget phone of the year so far with regards to its price, and I'm really excited to give this guy an unboxing and see what it can do. So without further ado, guys, this is Tech Nick, and let's go. Cheap silicone covers, nevertheless, at least they give us a cover with the phone. It's not the best, but I'll pop it on for you guys later so you can see what it looks like out the box. It might be pretty good for day one use. Okay guys, so we have USB type A to USB type C, since it does indeed sport a type C port. Though remember, the speeds are going to be limited to 2.0 speeds, so don't expect the fastest OTG or transfer speeds between your device and your computer or any other device. And the only other thing that we have in here is indeed the charging block. Now this is a 22.5 watt charging block. The original IQOO came with a 44 watt charging block, which got you 0 to 100 in just 45 minutes. This should be able to get this massive 4,500 milliampere cell. Yes guys, 4,500, 500 more than the original IQOO and 500 more than the brand new Xiaomi Mi CC9, so it is bigger as well in that department, which is pretty cool to see. So you should be able to get a full charge in, I would say, about an hour and a half, but as always, I'll put this guy in a charging speed test and you guys can check the top specs there. I'm also expecting some pretty good things with regards to battery over here, since I've had a few Vivo phones such as the Nex S, the X23 and the X27, oh, and even the X21 before I even started YouTube, and the battery was always phenomenal, guys. And this is the biggest that I've seen on a Vivo phone with 4,500 milliamperes, so it should do pretty well. So stay tuned for that battery drain test as well. I'll have it out in the next week or so. And guys, before I throw everything to the side, just to let you know, there are no earphones in the box, but I don't know if this is just a pre-order incentive, but they do give you these XC680 earphones. I don't know, copy earbuds, whatever. I'm just gonna throw those to the side. I probably won't even open it, but you do get that. So if you guys import it from China, you might just get a pair of those too. Okay guys, so here is the phone itself. I'm gonna go ahead and slip it right out of this little cover. As you can see, there's an on-display fingerprint sensor over there, which we'll get to in a minute as well. And just taking a look at the design over there, you can see that they did not just go ahead and copy the K20 Pro's carbon fiber look. It's actually almost like, it's kind of carbon fiber, but I would say it almost looks like little diamonds. Now, I cannot tell you guys if it is textured right now, since I do indeed have a back screen guard on here, and I actually plan on keeping it that way, since when they give you a back screen guard, it's really nice to keep on for any occasional scratches, which is really cool to see that they've actually done that, by the way. Before we move on to the rest of the design of the phone and actually talking about that color more, let's just pop on the cover and just see what it's like. Okay guys, so it's a pretty simplistic cover, pretty much like you get with most budget phones, and it does the job. I mean, for day one use, for sure it does the job, but it's a pretty cheap phone. So if you guys do have a pretty high budget, I would recommend just not using a cover at all, guys. It's a really well-made, cheap phone for the build right now. It feels like a premium phone, and we'll get to that properly in a sec. So taking a look at that back once again there, I like how out of the box it's nice, clean, and neat there, guys. Has the little IQOO logo over there, not even Vivo, since it is actually a sub-brand of Vivo. This is now their new gaming department. And just those little diamonds, it looks really epic how they've done that whole diamond design. Okay guys, well let's move on. So I'm gonna go ahead and power on the device, and while it powers on, we're gonna look around the phone. Okay, there it goes. IQOO looks real cool. We have a triple lens camera system at the back here. So we have a main lens here, which is just a 12 megapixel lens with an aperture of f1.8. None of them have OIS, so that kind of sucks, but that's the same main sensor that you see in the original IQOO, so that's cool to see. Then we actually have an 8 megapixel wide sensor, and I'm not sure if that is an ultra wide sensor. The original IQOO came with a 13 megapixel ultra wide sensor. I'm not sure if this is wide or ultra wide or what it does, but I will get to that in a camera comparison, and we'll check it out in the unboxing here as well when we open up the camera app. Then the last one we have here is pretty interesting. We have a 2 megapixel depth sensor, so nothing really to write home about with regards to the camera setup as a whole here. But nevertheless, guys, it is 3 cameras on a phone for only $260, so I don't think that they will be too disappointing. I'm gonna pull my Groot down here later and see what they can do. Okay, let's move along here. Okay, on the side we have a non-textured power button. That's not too bad that it's non-textured, but most companies do that, but I would have preferred a textured one. Nevertheless, we then have the volume rocker above it. At the top over here, it is nice and clean, and going along the left over here, we have the SIM tray slot here. So we should just have a dual SIM tray slot over here. We do, and there is no support for an SD slot. So sorry for you out there, make sure you guys get the 128 gig. And talking about that 128 gig quickly, guys, they have released a 6 gig 64 gig version. No SD card support on either of these devices, keep that in mind. They have also released an 6 gig 128 gig version, which is the one that I have here, which goes up to just under 2000 RMB. Then they have an 8 gig 64 gig variant with no support for micro SD card slots. I'm not sure what they're getting at. More RAM but less storage for 100 yuan more, so 2100 yuan, which is roughly $280. That does not make sense to me. That should have at least been 128 or 256. I'm not sure what they were planning on there, or at least support for micro SD card slots. I don't have that version, so we can't really tap on that. This is the 6 gig 128 gig version, so let's keep moving on with that. At the bottom over here, we do have the Type-C port over here. We do, thank goodness, have a headphone jack, which is good to see. Always good to see on a phone, keeping that in there. And then at the bottom over here, we do have one downward firing speaker, but it could be paired with this big rugged looking earpiece over here for some dual sounding stereo speakers, but we'll have to get to that in more tests down the road. We do have a 12 megapixel selfie snap over here. I do like this little red accent that I forgot to mention to you guys earlier. It is indeed the AI button, and I really like that for translate on Vivo phones. Since I live in China, you can translate the entire contents of the screen. There we go, guys, FunTouch OS. Now this is FunTouch 9.0 based on Android 9 Pie, and we should definitely see a Q update on here as well, since Vivo have not had any issues with the states of recent times. LOL. Anyway, that has been resolved, and here is the Vivo IQOO, guys. Now this is a 6.38 inch AMOLED display on the Vivo IQOO Neo over here, and it does not feel much smaller to the 6.39 inch displays we used to, or the 6.41 inch displays that we used to, and that is because there is very little differences between those sizes. So if they could cut the costs by shaving a 0.01 inch off the phone, that's okay in my books. The quality of it looks absolutely stellar, guys. We do have this wonderful little teardrop notch style over there that you guys can see. There it goes nice and fluid with the phone, and it looks pretty neat. It does indeed have a bit of a chin over there, quite a bit bigger than most recent phones that I've seen, but guys, I can't complain. This is a ridiculously well priced phone. So I did indeed set up facial recognition and the fingerprint sensor with my thumb over here during the startup setting procedure over there. So we're going to go ahead and test out facial recognition. Now this is not 3D facial recognition, but let's test it out anyway. See how quick and snappy it is. And there it is, guys, absolutely instant, so I can't complain there. Stick around for a proper speed test between other phones to see how it competes with the top dog phones of 2019 there, guys. We're going to go ahead and check out that under display fingerprint sensor as well. Now this is Vivo's 8th iteration of it, and it feels pretty snappy off the back, guys. It feels like it is getting in every single time, regardless of where I put my finger, it is getting it. And I do have a lot of issues with in-display fingerprint sensors, but I must say that Vivo have been among the best when it comes to an optical sensor. I am Karud. I don't know what you guys think of that voice impression, but nevertheless, this is great, guys, and here's going to be my little companion when taking snaps on my new devices. So we're going to go ahead and just take the phone as is right out the box and take a pic of Groot there. Let's go ahead and see if this is ultra wide, that 8 megapixel lens. Boom, and there we go. It is an ultra wide sensor. That is really good to see, guys. So I'll pop that picture up for you guys as well. Bokeh effect, okay. So I'm gonna place him over here. Sorry you guys can't see this, but I'll pop the picture up in a minute. I just wanna see exactly how it looks with my PC running in the background on the bokeh effect there, guys. Just to show you some video specs over here, we can indeed shoot 1080p at 60 FPS, but we are limited on 4K to 30 FPS. You'll see when I switch to that mode, it kicks away from 60. Nice to know that you can use 60 FPS videos when it comes to 1080p, but you are limited to 30 FPS in 4K. And I really hope that you enjoy this phone as much as I do. I wanted to give you my initial thoughts on the phone as soon as I open it, just as you might do very soon, since this was one of the most budget-friendly powerhouse devices on the market right now. So there you guys have it, the Vivo IQOO Neo, the budget IQOO that you guys have been waiting for. Not to say the original IQOO wasn't cheap, it certainly was, and with the latest and greatest Snapdragon 855 chipset, it really battled other phones, being one of the better gaming phones out there, with an LED strip in the back and some captive buttons on the side, with a great 4000 mAh battery and crazy fast 44 watt fast charging. Now, its little brother, the Vivo IQOO Neo, is not as much of a powerhouse, though it does indeed have last year's flagship Snapdragon 845 in it, which in my mind is still more than enough power in a smartphone to run any games out right now. We have no micro SD card slot, but we do have a headphone jack. It comes with 6 gigs of RAM, up to 128 gigs of storage, paired with a 4500 mAh battery. Now, speaking about the battery for a tad, it is 500 mAh more than the original Vivo IQOO, though the battery life is said to be very similar due to the fact that this chipset in here is a 10 nanometer chip and the new 855 processing chip is a 7 nanometer chip. So that is a lot more efficient, but we will have to see how it fares in my battery drain test, so stay tuned for that, guys. This is not a camera phone, but its pictures look pretty good. I must say, right out the box, they almost look better than the Nova 5 Pro's photos, and that has a 48 megapixel Sony IMX582 sensor, where this just has a 12 megapixel main lens and a ultra wide lens. We did clarify that, as well as a 2 megapixel depth sensor. So the cameras are pretty great. Nevertheless, even though it's not a camera phone, it is aimed at gamers, but it doesn't look like a gaming phone. It certainly has a very nice appeal to it. It definitely comes in with the people that are interested in the Pocophones out there, and this could very well be a Pocophone killer. Hopefully the next one has an 855 chip in it, but at this price of just $260, there is very little to complain about, guys. This is the Vivo IQOO Neo, and I'm happy to bring it to you here on my channel. Stick around for more tests on this phone, and until next time, guys, this is TechNet.